where the national grid, which runs the country's power infrastructure, says British households could experience power cuts this winter. Their worst-case scenario planning includes Russian President Vladimir Putin deciding to shut off gas supplies to Europe. National Grid says consumers will be warned about power cuts a day beforehand. The power cuts will take place or could take place in an effort to reduce the total consumption of the UK by 5%. Now, this emergency plan would need a stamp of approval from King Charles. That's on the recommendation of the Business Secretary. National Grid has published a range of scenarios that could occur this winter. According to a senior industry official, the UK is heading into winter in an unprecedented situation. National Grid outlined a series of initiatives to manage supply and demand this winter. It says it's ready to call into action 5 coal-powered plants, and it's also launching a demand flexibility service in November. That will encourage businesses and consumers to use power outside of the peak periods, including early evenings on weekdays. National Grid hopes this service will free up an extra 2 gigawatts, which is enough to power about 600,000 homes. However, if more chaos in Europe puts pressure on supplies, the UK could be forced to seek gas from different sources. That includes trying to increase imports of liquid natural gas or LNG amid intense global competition. Now, according to National Grid, gas and electricity prices will remain high throughout the winter. Now, for more on this, we're joined by our correspondent in London, Alex Isat. Alex, thanks for joining us. What's been some of the reaction to this pretty extraordinary announcement from National Grid?
Well, to make it clear, and as you already said, this is the worst case scenario. Their winter report, which actually comes out every year, suggests that the last resort is to have these rolling blackouts. They have stated that we will have low supplies, but they should be sufficient to get us through the winter. Of course, though, a lot of the headlines are breaking with the news that we are going to have these rolling blackouts as a fact. But that is not the case, yet it hasn't stopped people being quite scared and worried about what the future may be, what the winter looks like. A lot of people are asking about your hospitals and emergency services, but they do have a protected measure in place, which has been ongoing for many years to make sure that their generators are working and that they are maintained. Everybody is slightly concerned already with the cost of living going up, and people are saying that if the rolling blackouts happen between 4 and 7 p.m. or in the morning, then how is that going to affect working from home? We've been pushing to work from home now since COVID times, and if these rolling blackouts occur, what will that mean for people who aren't going into offices? And also, don't forget, like a couple of years now, past 10 years since Conservatives were government, we have been pushing for an electric world, electric cars, and also electric gas, taking away the gas, using electric heating, and that's obviously going to be using a lot more power. We will need at least 500% more coming into the UK if we go down that path, but that is all future planning. Right now, people are worried about what is going to happen for the winter and how much everything's going to cost.
And Alex, I just wonder, what does this mean politically for UK Prime Minister Liz Truss? She's obviously had a pretty tough first few weeks in office.
Well, she said during her campaign to become the leader that there would not be any rolling blackouts, that we won't have any problems. Now she's not confirming either way, positive or negative. Of course, as we have seen since she has come into power, that she has changed a lot of her policies as it's been ongoing. The interesting fact is people are now asking, what would have Labour done in this situation? Of course, if it had been a situation where Boris hadn't won, then we would be dealing potentially with Jeremy Corbyn. We wouldn't know what that would look like. Of course, many people are using this as a reason to not back the Conservatives. Unfortunately, the situation is one that hasn't just been caused by any political party. However, people will look to Liz Truss to try and get her to do something. Whether or not she can is another question. She has tried to put money across to work on the impact of nuclear. There should be more money put there. She's now released oil fields for fracking and obviously trying to encourage more wind farms. So there is potential again for the longer term that we could see the UK trying to get a lot more of its energy from other places. At the moment, we are really quite reliant on Europe, but we are about to sign the North Sea Energy Co-op deal, which could see a lot more power coming in from our UK continental shelf, which again will be positive, but potentially not soon enough for this winter.
Right, thanks for that. That was Alex Isat, our correspondent here in London.